Okay, we're live. How do I go back? Oh, here I am. Here I am. Rock you like a hurricane. Here I am. I was listening to a bunch of Courtney Love yesterday. Well, Hole, the band Hole. I used to love Hole. I loved Hole even more than Nirvana, I think. I'm gonna do a video about um, Kurt Cobain and Courtney Love's Synastry at some point soon. I have a whole shitload of videos I gotta do. Anyway, there's no one even here yet. I am doll eye, doll mouth, doll legs. I am big veins. Oh, there are people here. Okay. Hello. Oh, Dare. Hi. Hello, sweetheart. It's nice to have you. I'm just making sure other people know I'm live. Okay. YouTube.com/Saturn Girl. Okay. There we go. Someday you will ache like I ache. Do 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 do. Someday you will ache like I ache. Okay. So we've got Casey, we've got O'Dare, we've got Quantum Wave Function, we got David Williams. So since Amber Mayer says, I'm one of your biggest fans on Facebook, thank you. Because a lot of people think I'm an awful bitch. So, I mean, I am, but I'm glad there's some people that actually like me too. So, yay, and this is wonderful because when I do this earlier like this, all my European friends can join me. And my friends in the South Pacific oftentimes. And my friends in South America. And my friends in the Philippines. And when I say Europe, I include Eastern Europe. Because I always say I've got clients from Tacoma to Tbilisi, from LA to Ljubljana, right? All the way to Azerbaijan. So anyway, but we'll start doing, I wanted to talk about some of the current events, but we'll talk about it as we go through your charts and stuff. So please, please, and thank you. Please like this stream, and subscribe to my channel. And India, thank you, Deepika. I forgot to mention India. Yes, I've had clients from Bangalore. That's correct. So that's correct. Yes. I'm glad I'm an international girl. You know, most Americans are sort of myopic when it comes to the rest of the world, but not me. And Madeline, yes, thank you. Amber says Canada here. Oh, Canada, our home and native land. We have Croatia. I have a dear friend who's Croat, and he was visiting family in Croatia, and they literally would come at 7 in the morning to pick him up with vodka. Like, time to start drinking. It's 7 a.m. Jenny, thank you so much. You did just send me a PayPal. So just so everyone knows, I prioritize members and donations. You can tip me or donate through super thanks or super chats below. Otherwise, my PayPal is down in the description. It has my dead name in there, so that's okay. I can't change it. But you can use either super thanks or my PayPal below. So yes, and greatly accepted and appreciated. But we'll start off here with Jenny. Jenny. Ha, that's how we roll the moonshine mornings. That's fucking for real, yo. I mean, my whole family's Irish and I thought we could drink, you know. But no, Eastern Europeans can really fucking drink, especially Croats, like the whole Balkans area, you know. The whole Balkans area is very accustomed to alcohol. Amber, you're so sweet for coming, but, you know, don't feel obligated because, you know, Amber's having a wacky time. Poor Amber. We love Amber. So let's please everyone wish Amber some good luck here. Please wish Amber some good luck here. Anyway, please like this stream and subscribe to my channel. And we also have memberships. There's all kinds of fun membership perks. We're starting membership live stream soon. And so for the members who are here, please, 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 in the chat, put some of your requests or suggestions for member live streams. We were going to do lessons. We were going to do teaching, right? Different astrological subjects. We were going to look at current events, celebrity charts, celebrity synastry, things like that. So please, if you have any suggestions of stuff that members only want to see, let me know. Yeah. So please, anyway, we'll start with Jenny. We'll start with Jenny. Me and Jenny was like peas and carrots again. Jenny. I love you, Jenny. Sorry, I can't help. That's a bad Forrest Gump impression. Me and Jenny was like peas and carrots again. Jenny Chesbro. And thank you for the tippy tippy. We have, and thank you for doing date time city. So anyone who's putting your birth information in the chat, please do it in the format of date, time, city, right? That order, date, time, city. Because otherwise I get lost, because I'm a Taurus Mercury and I have a one-tracked mind and I'm neurodivergent. So, you know, I'm just asking for your cooperation. I'm just asking for your cooperation. And thank you so much for the tippy tippy, my love. Thank you, thank you. Palmer. Palmer. AK. I got an AK. Sorry. Okay. So anyway. Where the fuck's your chart, yo? Sorry. I cuss a lot. I'm sorry. I don't mean to. I don't mean to. There we go. Here's the chart. Here's the chart. Yes, please put your birth info. Put your birth info in there. And Jenny, since it's your first time, I think, we're just going to look at some natal and some timing. I try to spend only 5 minutes on each chart. Can you mail me? I mean, you can email me. Yeah. My email address is in the description box below. Amber did PayPal you. So Amber, if you haven't already. Oh, Amber did PayPal me? Okay. Thank you, Amber, for telling me about Amber. Amber Meyer or Mayer? Do you prefer Meyer or Mayer? And Casey, thank you. You're so sweet. Thank you, thank you. And I will try to get sequentially to everyone's chart. I just want you all to know that I do prioritize members and donations. So anyway. Oh, look at this. We've got a stacked first house in Libra. Hey, Amber. They are a Libra rising. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Now, Saturn in the first house is rough, right? But it's an interesting combination when you have Saturn, the Sun, and Pluto all in the first house. Now, I'm reticent to call it a stellium because to me, a stellium is 3 planets conjunct in the same sign. O'Dare says, I have a one to talk about. Lots. If you and know yours, what the heck they mean. I'm not sure I understand, O'Dare. But thank you for being a member. If you haven't put your birth info up yet, you go ahead and I will get to you shortly, sweetheart. I will get to you shortly. And Amber, of course, too. Amber Meyer or Mayer. I'm not sure which one you prefer. And who else is this? Who else is this? Someone just sent me Heather. So which one is Heather? Which one of you is Heather? Please let me know. Please let me know. I'm not saying any other information about you. I just want to know who Heather is so I can, you know, get to your birth info and stuff. Okay. So anyway, so 3 planets in the first house. I'm reticent to call it a stellium, but there's some very interesting stuff. So number 1, Saturn is exalted in Libra. So it is a happy Saturn. But still, when I see Saturn in the first house, my first thought is tendency towards codependency, right? These are often people who look for their value through other people. Mayor. Okay, cool, Amber. Mayor. So, and these are often people who look for their value through other people or through relationships. It's like, I want a gold star, daddy, please give me a gold star, you know? Which is an interesting sort of balance here, or dissonance, if you will, because you also have the sun in the first house. Now, the sun is not happy in Libra because the sun is exalted in Aries, you see? And the sun rules the 11th house. So on the one hand, it might indicate some, difficulty connecting with people or your peers. But see, the North Node is there. The North Node is there indicating that connections, right? Supporters, having aspirations and hopes for the future. That's the direction you're moving in, especially now because you're just a couple years older than me. You're probably what, like 44, 45? 44, I suppose. Excuse me. Or about to turn 44, I guess. So anyway, and the big lesson with Saturn in the first house is to find your value within, from yourself. And that only comes from doing things and accomplishing things, you see? Now, when Pluto's conjunct the ascendant, I have Pluto square the ascendant, right? And so people like us, with Pluto in aspect to the ascendant, we upset people, The sacred rev. Thank you. Thank you, Heather. Thank you for letting me know. You are so sweet. Thank you, my dear Amber, too. So we learn, unfortunately, that for us, life is a series of life-shattering crises, right? Everyone talks about Pluto as, transformation. But how do you cause transformation, right? How do you make a precious gem? It's through heat and pressure, right? It's shattering crises. But the wonderful thing about this is it makes us powerful people, Unfortunately, trauma becomes part of our makeup. When I was a teenager, I used to say, you are your scars. I mean, I was emo as fuck. But there's some sort of truth to that because our experiences condition our identity, you see? So you might go through these periodic crises in life that, totally shatter who you were before or who you thought you were. I mean, you're still yourself, Thank you, Kara. Thank you, thank you. I mean, you're still yourself, of course. But what you thought you were, what you thought you knew about yourself just got smashed. So, and we tend to upset people, don't we? We can walk into a room. And just piss people off. It's like, especially women look at us like, who the fuck does she think she is? Why does she think she's so special? It's because we have a powerful presence, And dudes might be eerily, grossly attracted to us, Or they might get all bent out of shape too. Thank you. Kara says, you look gorgeous today. Thank you so much. My hair is still wet. So I'm letting it air dry so it doesn't get frizzy. Plus it does these nice curls when I let it do this. Now, really quickly, Saturn also rules your 4th and 5th house. So I imagine your father was probably either narcissistic or, into his own shit or not around very much. If it was more of a positive, because Saturn is relatively happy, if it was more of a positive experience, I'd expect he would have been confident, successful, and well-liked by people in general, Or may have seemed like a powerful person to you. If you have children, you may have one child who's especially popular, successful, and or confident, strong, right? So, and by strong, I mean personality-wise. Personality-wise. Oh, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Who is this? Who is this? So anyone who's interested in getting an actual reading, like an actual professional reading, all my information is below. You can email me or book through my website, saturngirl.org. Um, so yeah, and I do 1 hour long readings for $110 USD, and I do an hour and a half or 90-minute long readings, longer readings for $155 USD. So just be aware of that. Or I do 30 minutes for $55, but you can't get a whole lot out of 30 minutes. It's usually just like one question. So anyway, oh, Moon conjunct Venus. It's usually very welcoming and accepting, you see. Jupiter also rules your third house. You may have a brother, aunt, or uncle who has an alcohol problem, addiction problem, or mental health issues. Mental health issues. Or maybe they're in prison. I don't know. I don't know. That's something we often see. I have to move on in just a second. But the 10th house ruler is the moon in Virgo. I'm dating a Virgo moon, and she's wonderful. Virgo moons are such subby bitches. And so are Virgo Venus. I always joke that, Venus falls in Virgo. Yeah, on their knees. Ba-boom. But seriously, though, you could make them kneel on Legos if you wanted. I mean, I've done that before. So, Venus rules the 8th house and your first house. So when you have your first house ruler in the 12th house, you might have some substance issues too, or mental health issues that you've had to overcome, you see. And, again, that's something that makes us stronger too. And I often see Plutonian people who have had to struggle with addiction, because Pluto is obsession and all that sort of thing too. You need to be careful with your money though. I mean, you might have success with money later, but and you really hate taking direction. You hate authority and you hate rules. Mars conjunct Uranus. Anyway, so in terms of timing really quick though, you've got Jupiter going through your 9th house for a while, and Mars is about to enter your 9th house. So overall, over the next year, you're encountering new beliefs, new philosophies, or perhaps you're traveling abroad or learning about new cultures, or you have a mentor from another culture or country. But usually what I see is being presented with new ways of thinking, new world views, you see? New world views, new spirituality, new philosophies. But as Mars goes in here on July 20th, and that'll be for a couple of months or a month and a half, you see, you'll get a bit fanatical about what you believe. So oftentimes when Mars is in here and Jupiter, it's like we get in fights or arguments or debates about what we believe, right? And then either, us being wrong or having these conflicts makes us consider other points of view, So it's really interesting, you see. And Jenny says, spot on, I'm really ornery. Yeah. No, and that's fine, You're Scorpio Mars. I've dated tons of you people. I've dated lots of Scorpio Mars. I always say I'm swearing off Scorpio Mars, but still I can't. I get sucked right in and then right off. Boom. Scorpio Mars. Am I right? Yeah, I am. I know I am. So anyway, what other timing? Venus is going through your 11th house. So this is the time to be social and all that sort of thing. But at the end of the month, or the beginning of August, I guess, August 4th, Venus goes into Virgo and will be conjunct your natal Venus, you see? And this is a self-care kind of transit. It's when we make breakthroughs in therapy or we do therapy, or, we take time out for some healing seclusion, It's time to work on your mental health, you see. But we got to move on to the next person. So who was next? We've got Quantum here. We've got O'Dare. O'Dare, you are a member. So if you want, put your stuff in there. Let me see we had, who was it? We had Amber, right? Who was this one? Who was this person? Who is this person? Holy smokes. Okay. Who was this? Who was this? Oh, that was Jenny. So we did Jenny. We did Jenny. Amber. That's right. Amber Mayer. Amber Mayer. We're doing Amber Mayer now. Okay. October the 17th. For Amber Mayer. And we're just gonna blast through these as best we can. And I'll try not to talk about a bunch of other shit. Even though we had a pretty wild fucking weekend. And I predicted the shooting. I mean, I didn't say it was going to necessarily be a shooting, but I said it was going to be a surprise attack. So, I'm pretty good at what I do. I'm just saying. And I'm not just saying that for my own self-aggrandizement. I'm just saying that completely objectively. You know, completely objectively. It's science. There's been studies done. I'm kidding. Not really. But I'm just super vain. I'm still good. I'm super vain. 4:30 p.m. And it is Grand Falls, Windsor, Newfoundland. And Labrador, Canada. Grand Falls, Windsor, Canada. Oh, it came up. Good. See, sometimes stuff doesn't come up in SolarFire right away. So if your city doesn't come up, I'll let you know and just pick the most adjacent place. You see? Let me see who else is here. Ariel, thank you for coming. Misty, thank you for coming. Thank you, thank you. So Amber, we have your chart up. You're an Aquarius rising like me. Now I do whole sign houses. So even though your ascendant degree is at 29 degrees, I still, thank you, oh dear, I will get to you too. And quantum function, did you want me to look at something for you, sweetheart? Because I know we just did yours. I know we just did yours last time. So anyway, oh my gosh, you're having your Saturn return, Amber. Look at that. But as I was saying, okay, I gotta make sure to stop it. 27 after. As I was saying, in Placidus or a different house system, they might start your first house at that 29 degrees, but not me, because I use whole sign houses, the original house system. And that puts Saturn in your second house, in retrograde. When I see Saturn in the second house, my first thought is having to struggle with money or material resources as a kid. Oftentimes, you know, we don't feel like there's enough to go around. Or our parents. My other comment was asking about lots. I'm sorry, I didn't see your other comments, sweetheart. It's so hard to keep track of the... some of the comments because things move so quickly, sweetheart. But please, yeah, let me know what your question was. So anyway, Saturn in the second house, oftentimes our parents will tell us like, oh, there's not enough to go around. Oh, you have to share all your clothes with your brother or sister or whatever. But there's a sense that there's not enough, right? And so oftentimes we learn frugality and saving, which is great. My sister has this, you know, and she grew up in a lot more difficult circumstance than I did, right? Because our dad was in Vietnam at the time, you know? And then he got back and then he started being more successful. But, you know, when I was born into easier circumstances than she was. So you see, that oftentimes comes with the difficulty with material resources. But as you get older, you have more of an awareness of how to manage those resources, you see? Yup, grew up in a cult. Well, see, you can see that with the ninth house stuff. You see, the ninth house is ruled by Venus, right? I lost my dad to war too. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I'm so sorry. Yeah, my dad was in the United States Army. Yeah, I'm so sorry. But anyway, you see Venus is up here in the 10th house. And Venus is in detriment, meaning she doesn't like being in Scorpio. She has a rough time there. So it's sort of indicative to me of that whole cult thing, you know, an unpleasant experience of all that, right? Venus also rules your fourth house. So again, you know, that represents dad oftentimes. So there's difficulty with dad there, you know, there's difficulty with dad there. And then when I see Pluto conjunct Mars, and it is a very happy Mars. Mars rules Scorpio. But when they're conjunct, these are people who know how to get what they want. They're often tenacious. I mean, almost stalkerish. You know, they will extract. You know, they will extract all they can from you. It's like a vampire type thing. I don't know if anyone has seen Alice in Wonderland, but do you remember the story of the carpenter and the walrus, right? They basically fool all these oysters to come chill with them, right? And the walrus just eats them all, you know? He knows what he wants. That's what I think of, right? These are people who know how to get what they want. But still, life can be difficult. It can feel like your actions are constantly thwarted. Like you have to battle for everything. You have to fight for everything. But again, with your sun in the ninth house, conjunct your north node, right? The life motif becomes more and more about spirituality or the big questions in life, or even foreign cultures or countries. But oftentimes what I see are people who become more and more spiritually inclined as they grow up, or perhaps become teachers, right? Or get involved with astrology or the esoteric in some way, right? Or philosophy. So that's quite interesting. Now, before I move on, I want to say that Venus is now going through your seventh house, which is lovely. It's doing that for me too, because this is a time when I often meet new partners. I do have a new girlfriend. Her name is Bexy, and she's super sweet and super good to me. She's wonderful. I like Bexy so much, but I'm polyamorous. And, you know, I'd like to meet at least one other partner. And this is often the time when that happens, but we'll see. You know, we'll see. I'm not holding my breath and I'm not like anxious for it. But this is great. But when I see your moon in the seventh house, yes, I'm so sorry. I don't know how to pronounce your name, Sijla. Is it Sijla? Sijla. I'm sorry, sweetheart. Anyway, when I see moon in the seventh house, even though it's Leo and you think like, oh, me, right? You think of someone who's got an need for attention. On the other hand, it's very simpy and very clingy, the moon in the seventh house, right? Again, like Saturn in the first house, craving external validation from people. Sheila, okay, thank you. Sheila, thank you so much. I have difficulty with pronunciation still. I'm an international girl. But at the same time, I have difficulty with other languages sometimes, except Spanish. I'm good with Spanish. But anyway, you have Pluto square the ascendant like I do, Amber. And this is the dominatrix placement. You know, I'm a switch. You know, I'm a dommy mommy, but I'm also bottomy as fuck for the right person. You know, like, please, mommy, beat the shit out of me. You know? But when I see Pluto square the ascendant, often there are kinky people, right? We also learn through pain and suffering, right? Through crises, as I talked about with the last person. But then there's the added part where we're really interested in power, right? We get a power complex because we feel powerless as children, right? Something made us feel powerless as children, and then we crave power as we get older, you know? And it comes from that trauma and fear about not having control when we're children, you see? And it can make us quite aggressive, oftentimes. You have Mars square your ascendant. I have Mars trine. You know, that's another indicator that aggression, temper, and impulsiveness get in the way of what your dharma is. And for Aquarius, it's about presenting a vision for humanity of what things could look like, of what society could look like. A better view. We're the progressives of the zodiac, Aquarius rising. You know, whether, it doesn't matter what your political philosophy is, but we're the people who want to push things. We want to push things into new realms, you see? So maybe your impulsiveness or your anger interferes with that sometimes. So it's just something to be aware of. It might not be true, but something I see. And then you have Moon square Venus like I do. We get paranoid in relationships. That's another indicator of codependency and simpy behavior, right? Like we look for safety and security through our partners, but it never comes through them. You know, we have to find validation through ourselves. You see? And please, if you're just joining me, like the stream and subscribe to my channel, please. Please subscribe to my channel. I prioritize readings for members and donations and tippers, and then I do everybody else. David Williams just donated. Thank you, sweetheart. You are so, so darling. You are so darling. So darling. We've got to go to O'Dare, who is a member. And then Kara is a member too. So let's go to O'Dare quickly. And I'll try and blast through these really quick. But Amber, you've got Jupiter going through your 5th house, as do I. And this is where we start to enjoy ourselves. This should be all about fun. David says, if you make it to mine, could you check? I'm going to try and make it to everyone's today if I can. If I have to go a little bit over. And yes, I do synastry readings too, Rocco Lily. I do synastry readings too. I'm very skilled at what I do. I'm very skilled at what I do. I primarily use ancient astrology. I've been studying for 19 years. Or 20. Gosh, 20 years. 20 years. Jesus. I started when I was 20. You know? Tipped more moonshine shots on PayPal. Thank you so much. Bosnia Herzegovina. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you've been in a war-torn area. And that's been terrible ever since Yugoslavia, right? With Bill Clinton. I mean, it's been longer than that. But still, you know what I'm talking about, sweetheart. I'm sorry. That's been a difficult area. I'm going to try and get to everyone, Topeka. Okay, sweetheart? I'm going to try and get to everybody. I'm going to try and get to everybody. So this is the time when you start to have fun, Amber. I do have to move on. We talked about Venus, but Mars is going to go through your 5th house too. So watch out, because you're going to be quite horny, probably. You're going to be quite horny. Yes, it's a melting pot here. It is. It totally is, yeah. There's so many different languages in the area too, and so many different ethnic groups. And they have all kinds of different views of each other, you know. You know. I had a friend who was Bulgarian growing up. Anyway. So let's move on to the next person. Next person. Who was it? Oh, dare. Oh, dare. I dare you. Oh, I dare you. I erased it because my text was glitching. Where's your... Oh, here we go. Cleveland. Hello, Cleveland. It makes me think of some band saying, hello, Cleveland. Okay. And if I have to put in extra time today, I will. I will, because you're all so sweet joining me. You're all so sweet joining me. And I really appreciate everyone's support. I really need it. Because there's a good cross-section of people who hate my guts. Who hate my guts. Who hate my guts. And I don't blame them. You know. I can be a bit much. And a bit abrasive. Okay. Oh, Darren Cleveland. Hello, Cleveland. Gabrielle, happy to see you too. Thank you, everyone. So please like the stream and subscribe to my channel. And remember, I do the best readings. You can book through my website or email me. All my information is below. Or if you're following my Facebook page, you can message me through the Facebook page. Or through Twitter, you know. Or TikTok. Anyway, so Saturn in the 1st house too, we were just talking about that, and really closely conjunct the ascendant. So on the one hand, I bet you get like dry skin, chapped lips, because Saturn is cold and dry, right? In temperament. In temperament. Thank you, oh dear, you are so sweet. Thank you, my darling. But when I see Saturn in the 1st house, I think of people who, again, look through their value through others. When they really need to work on finding it internally. right? You're just a couple years younger than me, 5 years younger than me. So you're entering this time in your life very soon here when your North Node starts to be activated, right? So the beginning part of life, the first 36 years or so, maybe we're more interested in career recognition, life direction. What am I supposed to do, right? And then perhaps as you get older, the focus turns more into your private life, your home, your family, your genealogy, right? Perhaps you start focusing on being a parent or something like that. You see? But oftentimes it means the private life rather than the public life starts to take precedence. And you would get luck from your family history. Now, it could be generational wealth or inheritance. You do have some interesting 8th house stuff going on. And you're a Libra moon like me. Libra moons, we love to be liked. And when Libra moon, it's sextile Saturn in the 1st house, I definitely think of a simpy person. You might be kind of submissive with your partners, or you might, like I said, look for external validation through others. Like, please, mommy or daddy, give me a gold star. Venus in the 7th house too, and Venus in Gemini. Your 7th house ruler, though, is Mercury in the 8th house. And when I see that, I think of someone who likes the bad boys and girls, the dangerous partners, you see? The dangerous people, right? Or people involved in criminal activity. Like I think of, this is sort of archaic, but like the dude like smoking by the boys' room in high school, flipping a quarter, right? Or the girl, right? That's just kind of eyeballing you or whatever. The bad boys and girls. People who mom and dad wouldn't like, right? People who mom and dad wouldn't like. Now, I bet your dad was either a workaholic, right? Or had health issues, or may have been in the medical profession with Jupiter in the 6th house here, Sun in the 8th house, though, everyone tells you their secrets, don't they? Everyone tells you their secrets. People use you as a confidant. I shouldn't say use you, but people oftentimes go to you as a confidant, probably because they feel you can relate to their trauma, you see? You have Mars in the 5th house, like I do. If you were born a woman, right, we often see C-sections, right? We also see a high sex drive, Please like this stream and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, if you're just joining us. So anyway, the 5th house thing, for people born men, though, it typically is, just the high sex drive part, an inclination towards jokes and joking around, sometimes gambling or taking risks. It's all about fun. The 5th house is the stuff that we do for fun and pleasure. Pleasure. Yes, pleasure. Now, Venus in Gemini, people call it a slut and say it's super promiscuous, but that's not necessarily true. I've had lots of friends with Gemini Venus who weren't that way, but there's a need for variety, or sometimes that need for intellectual connection, right? You would need a partner you could connect with intellectually, right? That stimulates your mind. You see, that's very important for Gemini Venus, oftentimes. Cancer Mercury, like my daughter has this, and they take a long time to say anything. It's like they know what they want to say, but they just can't say it properly. Remember, like Eminem, the words won't come out, right? Spaghetti, spaghetti. But I'm like, I'm like, spit it out already. Today, Junior, right? So anyway, just in terms of timing, quick, and we'll move on. Saturn's going through your 4th house, which oftentimes makes us feel like an alien in our own home or country. Something is causing conflict with you and your family history or family background, But your part of fortune is there, which makes me think there's some sort of luck from generational wealth. I could be wrong, but that's what it looks like to me, you see? And I wonder if you had a friend pass away when you were younger before your Saturn return. One of your friends pass away. Maybe not. Maybe not. It's just sometimes I see that with the 8th house ruler in the 11th house. You see? Or what does Mercury rule? Anyway. just donated via PayPal. Thank you so much. And I'm doing my best to get to everyone. Like I said, I prioritize donations and tips and members. Members. That's why I'm going to O'Dare. And thank you, Quantum Wave Function, for allowing me to go to some of the newbies first. And then we're doing Kara. And then we're doing Kara. And then we're getting to everyone else sequentially. Just really quickly in terms of timing, right? I talked about Saturn. Jupiter is now in your 7th house, and Mars is about to go there too. So Jupiter going through your 7th house means within the next year or so, you could possibly start some new relationships or meet a new partner or something like that. You start getting luck and abundance in that area of your life. You know, one of my ex-boyfriends had this not too long ago. And, you know, they had varied relationships, but they also broke up with me, which wasn't pleasant for any of us. So you see, it's not always wonderful. And when Mars starts going through on the 20th of this month, then there's a higher likelihood of getting into fights with partners and saying shit that we wish we didn't say. You know, we could just watch out that we don't get impulsive with our words and say shit that could stimulate a breakup later. You know, sometimes you have to say the difficult things that need to be said, or you have to let off steam. But just be aware, some of our actions could have consequences that result in splits or breakups, you know. We do often see that. But I do also think you're going to meet someone new over the next year or so. Now, Venus is going through your 9th house. So either A, you know, a teacher or a female professor or something or mentor enters your life. Or it could be that you're learning about new ways of thinking, new philosophies, right? New spiritual paths or whatever. Or astrology, right? Arcane subjects, right? Or a foreign woman comes into your life somehow. That's another thing we often see, right? And we'll move on to the next person really quickly. We'll move on to the next person. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything that's worthwhile. You know, the 8th house stuff too indicates trauma. I'm not exactly sure what happened, right? It does look like difficulty with dad. Where's the moon? Is anything aspecting the moon? That's quite interesting. Or sometimes the 10th house is the mother. So sometimes, you know, with the 10th house ruling the 8th house, mom could have passed away early on. Or mom could have been involved in shady stuff. You know, I don't know. But those are just typical ways of reading it. You see? Anyway. Oh, and you'd probably meet partners who were your friends first, I'd imagine. I'd imagine so. Yes, I would. Anyway, we should move on to the next person. We should move on to the next person because I need to get to everyone. Everybody, yeah, rock your body, yeah. Where's Kara? Where's Kara's info? Where's Kara's info? Kara. There we go. Okay, I see now. December. Kara. We got another Ohioan. Ohio's been wacky these days, hasn't it? It always makes me think of the Mothman prophecies. Great tragedy on the river Ohio. I love that movie. The Mothman prophecies. It's really interesting. It's based on a true story. I don't know if it's probably very loosely based, you know. Very loosely based. So here's Kara. We have a Pisces rising, which means Saturn is going through your 1st house, darling. You've already had your Saturn return, you know, about probably 2 years ago or so, a year and a half. And as Saturn goes through our 1st house, it's really interesting. It's a very important time. Because Saturn goes through the 12th house, it makes us feel extremely isolated. And after going through that sense of isolation, We get thrown back upon ourselves in the first house. And we get faced with hidden parts of ourselves that we haven't processed, or we haven't dealt with, or that we didn't even know were there. For example, when Saturn went through my first house, I came out as transgender, you know. It was something that was always there since I was a child, but then Saturn made me face it. I'm not saying that's going to happen to you, but things that you've suppressed or repressed about yourself or your identity are going to come up. And maybe not very comfortably, but this is a wonderful thing because Saturn forces you to live a more authentic life. You see, she, to me, forces us to live more authentically. Now, you could become morose or melancholy or sort of despondent a bit. We often lose weight, but sometimes that's because we're depressed. We start to consider our own mortality. We become aware that death is inevitable, right? We start to feel older, yes? But the other side of that is that we feel a bit wiser too. So if you're just joining me, please like the stream and subscribe to my channel. We gratefully accept donations and tips, and we prioritize donations, tips, and memberships for the brief readings, okay? So just be aware of that. And we'll try and get to everyone. We will try and get to everyone, please. So please stick with us. Please stick with us. Now, the other thing about Saturn in the first house, right, is that, like I said, it makes us a bit wiser. With the sense of aging comes a greater sense of wisdom, you know, greater self-control and self-awareness. And honestly, we have a sense of weakened confidence during this time, but it's because we're being faced with the unstable parts of ourselves. And at the end of this transit, we get a lot of more of confidence. At least that happened for me. I went to the most confident period of my life. I'm not saying that'll necessarily happen to you, but that's sort of the gift of Saturn having gone through the first house. You see? Now, your first house ruler is Jupiter in the 8th house. When I see that, I think of self-harm. So please, I'm not saying you do this, but please, you know, refrain from self-harm. There's often a sense like, oh, I'm not good enough and all this sort of thing. And you have Pluto trine your ascendant, right? So there's sort of a morose and dark aesthetic or nature. You may have been kind of gothy or emo as a kid. I mean, you're quite young. Well, my girlfriend's the same age, you know. But oftentimes we're super emo or, you know, have a dark aesthetic growing up or a sense of depression. And my sense with your Venus and Saturn in the 12th house is you probably always felt kind of isolated or a bit like a loner, you know, left out perhaps, you know. And Aquarius Venus, there's something almost like, you know, scientific about you, or Jane Goodall. It's like, I'm living amongst the humans to learn their ways, you know. And Gemini moon intellectualizes all of its emotions, doesn't it? You know, I wonder if your dad was pretty religious or something like that. Religious father, religion. And then I'd expect you to get some sort of inheritance with Jupiter in the 8th house. Jupiter rules your first, right? But it also rules your 10th, which can indicate also, you know, a boss or authority figure passing away or a mentor at some point, you know, early on in your life, before your 30s, probably. It can also be indicative of fear, of holding yourself back from moving in your life direction for, you know, because of fear. But see, the sun at the top of the chart like that is very auspicious in conjunct the North Node. You know, it is good for success and for recognition. You see? You see? Just don't be involved in any shady shit. Also, in terms of timing, Jupiter's going through your 4th house, which is also an indicator sometimes of inheritance or receiving generational wealth in some way. Other times, if you're trying to buy a house or get a property or whatever, something to do with land, oftentimes that comes to fruition through this. But Mars is going to come through here too. So don't punch any holes in your walls. Because when Mars goes through our 4th house, things tend to break around the home, you know? So you got to watch out for that. You got to watch out for that. And Venus is going through your 6th house, which is all about self-care. So make those doctor's appointments you've been avoiding, right? Go to the dentist, you know, start a new diet or health routine, get better sleep, start exercising a little bit, even just walking 20 minutes a day, like 4 days a week, makes such a big difference, you see? And then you're probably a terrible arguer with Mercury conjunct Pluto, you know? Mercury conjunct Pluto, terrible arguer. I mean, even when it's wrong, it keeps arguing. I call it the breath that blasts, you know, it's like, rah! You know? My mom has that too, and boy, she can scream. She can scream. And Mercury opposite the moon is anxiety. There's a lot of mental health indicators here. Anxiety, perhaps depression, and all these things that can make it difficult, right, to have this confident sort of self. I haven't been reading the chat, so let me go down and see what you said. And then we got to move on. Sent you a tip. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Spicy Pisces. Hello, sweetheart. Miriam. Oh, we have someone from Pakistan, from Karachi. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. We've got people from India, from Pakistan. We've had people from Bangladesh. A lot of South Asian places. Kara says, I have both anxiety and depression. Yeah, but you see, it's not a death sentence. It just sort of indicates what I was on about, perhaps, of having like this, you know, self-hatred, or maybe that's too extreme, but at least low self-confidence and being mean to ourselves. So the indicator here, once again, to me, is that life becomes more and more about success and recognition. You're still quite young, right? As you get into your late 30s, the success thing will start to emerge more, you know? The sun also rules your, the sun also rules your 6th house, you know? You may have something to do with the medical profession or animals or something like that too. But it's a successful type thing. So we'd have to go deeper in depth in timing to see when that all happens. But anyway, let's move on to the next person because we don't want to. You came out as bi. It's too funny. You came out as bi. It's very interesting. I mean, technically, it's such a wide orb, but you could say Uranus is opposite Mars, which is often an indicator of unconventional sexuality or gender stuff. I have the same thing. I have Mars opposite Uranus. We also hate rules and we hate authority. So anyway, who was next? Who was next? Let's go to the PayPal people. The PayPal people. When's my next live? I was going to try and go live tomorrow also. I was going to try and go live tomorrow also, my darling. So let's see who's next. Let's see who's next. We did Amber. We've got Topeka. Can you do... Oh. I don't know what Topeka's... David Williams. So David Williams. I hope you're still here, David. Are you here, David? Are you here, David? Where's David Williams? David Williams. If you make it to mine, could you check what I'm going through and what's coming up? I don't see your information. Let me find your information. Oh, we have Misty from San Diego. I'm from San Diego originally. I'm from San Diego. David, I can't find your birth info. I can't find your birth info, David. David, can you help me, David? Help me, David. Help me, David. Amber, do you see David's information anywhere? Do you see David's information anywhere? Because I'm really in a hurry. I'm really in a hurry. I'm in a hurry. Even when I'm not in a hurry, I waste time till I am. It's ADHD things, Gemini things. Okay, where's David? David. Oh, David. Love your website. No, 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 no. Link is saturngirl.org. If saturngirl.org isn't working, let me know. But it's saturngirl.org. It's no longer frankielynch.com. Does it say that in my description? If it does, I'm going to be so mad because I thought I changed it. It's saturngirl.org. My website is saturngirl.org. Oh, and the Sacred Rev. Yes, we have the Sacred Rev we have to get to also. That's Heather. Heather. Where's David? David, please put your info in there. In the meantime, we'll get to Heather. I think Heather was after that. Oh, we have Sheila. We have Sheila. We have Sheila. Oh, wait, hold on. We have Heather. We have Heather before David. We have Heather before David. So let me find Heather's. Yeah, you can message me through my Facebook page for sure, but I'm on this right now. Hi, Anushri. How are you? Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Heather. And David, if you're still watching, please put your stuff in there so I can get to you next. So Heather, I'll just call you Sacred Rev. Sacred Rev. The Sacred Reverend. Is that what we're saying? The Sacred Reverend. 42582. You're just about a year older than me. You're just about a year older than me. Oh my God, I hate that sound. The dryer just went off. I hate that sound. I hate that sound. La Canada. And that's in California? Wow. So for the Sacred Rev, David, please put your stuff down there if you're still with us. David, please still put your stuff down there if you're still... Oh, look, we got a Virgo rising. Sorry for moving my mouth so quick. And everyone, we're prioritizing memberships and donations. Holy fuck, that's gonna piss me off. Ugh, the stupid dryer. It's like this timer that it does to tell me the clothes are dry. And it keeps on going, you know? So anyway, we have a Virgo rising. And the ruler is Mercury in the 9th house. And you're a Taurus Mercury like me. We can be kind of slow, have one-track minds, you know? We make lists, like first we do this, and then we do that. If things are out of sequence, it sort of upsets us. Like, I tell everyone, if you're going to put your birth info in, please do date, time, city. Date, time, city. Please. Right? So we often see that kind of thing. But when the first house ruler is in the 9th house, the life motif takes a decidedly spiritual bent, you see? We often have sort of the spiritual path in life becomes very important. I mean, I have my first house ruler in the 9th house, and it is, but then I went on this anti-spirituality kick, right? As sort of a reaction to all the spiritual abuse I witnessed growing up. So, but still, the life is about finding meaning. Like as children, we often say, what is this? Like, what does this all mean? How am I here? Like, fuck, that shit's wild, yo. The fact that you're here, that shit's wild, isn't it? I mean, it's like, oh my God, I'm an individual. I'm a thinking being. How, you know, what is God? Is there a God? What's the nature of existence? You see, these are the big questions we start to consider, you know? So anyway, that's the life motif, but what else do I see? I mean, Saturn in the 2nd house, we talked about that. It's an exalted Saturn, which is great, but there's still oftentimes difficulty with money. And Mars is very unhappy in Libra. So I would imagine there's a difficulty saving money. You might spend too much. Maybe it felt like there was lack as a child, so you felt a little liberal spending money as you got older. Where's Scorpio, the third house? You may have some difficulties with a sibling or a cousin, aunt, or uncle. You may be estranged from one of them or whatever. You may also have a couple siblings, You may get along with some of them, but I think there's one in particular. And you might be a bit passive-aggressive and wishy-washy. When I think of Mars in Libra, I think of Eminem. They can be really aggressive when it comes to words, Or like, AOC, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez. She has this. And she's really good with the verbal quips and, zingers and all that sort of thing. But when it comes to actual action, she's getting better, I suppose. She's getting better. Now, anyway, the seventh house ruler is Jupiter, so I imagine you need partners who can intellectualize with you. And you're a Gemini moon, so you tend to intellectualize your emotions anyway, So in terms of timing, though, Saturn's going through your seventh house right now, which on the one hand can strain relationships, oftentimes because we become hyper independent. While Saturn goes through our sixth house, we learn to start taking responsibility for things and picking up the pieces of what happened over the previous Saturn cycle, which was probably instability, in 2019 and 2020 may have been a lot of instability. Right? And then 2021 and 2022 would have been about like taking responsibility and all that shit again. And now that Saturn has been going through your seventh house, we often feel like, I'll do it myself. David Williams, please put your birth info. I can't find it. Please put your birth info below, David. I can't find your birth info. So for those of you just joining us, please like the stream and subscribe to my channel. My website is saturngirl.org. Saturngirl.org. If you want to book a reading. Macon, Georgia. Okay, I did see that earlier. Macon, Georgia. I remember Macon, Georgia, because it makes me think of the Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison. For any of you who are familiar with the wonderful, famous Black author Toni Morrison, she wrote the Song of Solomon. I'm slowly becoming Gnostic. Yeah, and Gnosticism isn't only one thing. If you're interested in Gnosticism, please check out the YouTube channel called Esoterica with Dr. Justin Sledge. Thank you, David. Thank you. Hi, Dana. How are you? But the channel Esoterica with Dr. Justin Sledge, he has a whole series on Gnosticism because Gnosticism wasn't just one thing, right? There were all different types of Gnosticism. Some were more dualist and some were more monist and whatever. And a lot of it was influenced by Platonism, you see? Platonism basically influenced all Western philosophy, really, if you want to get down to brass tacks. But anyway, that's a topic for another time. Exalted Venus, right? Exalted Venus, ruling your ninth house and ruling your second house. So I imagine there would be luck from a partner when it comes to money. I imagine there would be, maybe a partner makes a bit more money than you or gives you a bit added security. But remember, intellectualizing your emotions isn't necessarily bad, but you have to allow yourself to feel things in order to process them, Anyway, we talked about Saturn going through the seventh house, hyper-independence, straining relationships. And then we see that Jupiter's going through the 10th house, which is wonderful for career and life direction. Oftentimes, new opportunities pop up over the next year. However, pick others, ma'am. And Nushri, we prioritize members and donations. Okay? We prioritize members and donations, my darling. I will get to you as soon as I can. Okay? We prioritize members and donations. Please like the stream and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Anyway, I'm well caffeinated right now. You're weird as fuck too, sweetheart. I mean, you stick out like a sore thumb. You might have been made fun of or bullied as a kid just for being different, you know? So anyway, Jupiter going through the 10th house is great for luck with new career and life direction. But first, with Mars going through the 10th house, you may quit a job, you may get fired, or have conflicts with a boss, right? When Mars goes through the 10th house, we have disputes and conflicts with authority, okay? We have disputes and conflicts with authority. You're really struggling in your 19-year marriage. See, this is going to be a definitive point in your marriage until about summer of next year, okay? Now we're going to move on to the next person. Thank you so much, Heather. Now we're doing David. Mr. David Williams. Mr. David. Mr. David. July the 8th. You just had your birthday. That's wonderful. Happy birthday, darling. July 8th, 1980. And you're just a couple years older than me, too. 9:04 a.m. Thank you for doing date time city. Macon, Georgia. Macon, Georgia. Always makes me think of Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison. Wonderful author. We have a Leo rising. Look at that. Leo rising. Opposite of me. We have a 12th house sun and Mercury. Oftentimes I wonder about depression, substance issues, mental health in general, or even neurodivergence. With Mercury, you know, retrograde in the 12th house, we might see dyslexia, right? We might see difficulty speaking, right? And we see neurodivergence. Now that could take the form of, you know, being on the autism spectrum, or it could be ADHD, or a combination of all of the above, right? What's going on here? Okay, cool. Okay, cool. The first house ruler is the sun, you see, with your Leo rising. So that can be quite difficult. It's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, it could be someone who wants to work behind the scenes or doesn't like a lot of recognition or the spotlight. Although an exalted moon in Taurus, you know, oftentimes does like the spotlight, right? Or there's some degree of, you know, the moon rules the 12th house. So there could be work or a job that has to do with prisons or institutions, therapy, dealing with other people's suffering in some way. You know, that's often something we see, right? Venus rules the 10th house and is in the 11th. So oftentimes that means our life direction has to do with connection, either with sales, customers, right? Getting patrons, fundraising, right? Groups of like-minded people. Are my messages not showing up? David says. This just showed up now. The last one I saw from you was your birth date and time. I don't know if there's other messages not showing up. So if you're just joining us, like the stream and subscribe to my channel. Now your north node's in the first house, which is very important being that you're a 12th house sun, because that means your south node in the 7th house. That means the south node in the 7th house. You know, the first part of life is sort of deferential, you know, trying to find yourself through relationships with other people, right? And like I said, there might be a sense of depression or you know, difficult sense of confidence, right? Or, you know, I often say with you know, you don't need enemies when you have yourself, because you beat yourself up more than any enemy could, right? You beat yourself up more than any enemy could. Now, with the first house north node, the life motif is about discovering your own confidence and your own power, really, when you get down to it. Pluto is sextile the ascendant, you see. It's learning how to take that power that you might feel within and learn how to be comfortable with it without, right? It takes power and confidence to be vulnerable with people, doesn't it? And my guess is that your job or that your life direction requires you to be vulnerable with people. Now, life probably is just difficult in general with Saturn conjunct Mars. Like, it feels like everything fights us, like we have to work hard for everything we have. That's a typical experience of that whole sort of thing, you see? You see? Now, in terms of timing, because we have to move on, right? Saturn is going through what? Your 8th house, which is a time of loss. Either we have a material loss, like with our resources, our money, or something like that, or sometimes there's an actual death of someone in our lives, right? That we care about. I'm not saying it's necessarily that. I'm not trying to scare you or be hyperbolic. Those are just typical things. Or it can be about forgiveness and facing trauma, right? Letting things go. Through these 8th house transits, we learn to let things go. And if you have Saturn in your 8th house natally, like Amber does, then the life is about learning to let things go. Anushri, like I just said, sweetheart, I prioritize donations and tips and members. And if you did donate, I'm going down the line of PayPal donations and getting to each of those sequentially. Please like the stream, subscribe to my channel, and I do the best readings. My website is saturngirl.org, or you can message me directly, right, through email or whatever. So anyway, Sheila, we'll get to you soon, sweetheart. I gotta move on in just a second. Jupiter's going through the 11th house, which means getting more support over the next year from people, right? Oftentimes it's networking connections that end up elevating your status, right? People who like your work or what you do. Sometimes groups of like-minded people propel you on your way, and also cultivating hope and optimism for the future. But for a couple of months here, once Mars goes into Gemini, you may have conflicts or fights with your friends. You might feel like you cut people off. So just watch out for that. Don't be so impulsive, you know, when it comes to your emotional reactions to your friends. It may be that you just seem way too, because it rules the 9th house, way too idealistic, and you get into these political or philosophical battles with people, you see. So anyway, and then Venus is going through your 1st house, which is your time to shine. So enjoy it. Do something new with your hair. You know, try on some new shoes or clothes. I mean, I don't know what you're into, but oftentimes this is where we feel sexier. And when we have that sense of feeling sexy, then we attract new partners and other people, right? And everyone loves confidence, but confidence comes from accomplishment, right? No need to beat ourselves up. But let's move on to the next person. Who was next? We got Kara. We did Jenny. Shani, I can get to you in a little bit. Just I wanted to try and get to some newbies. Dare says, fuck him if you don't like you. Thank you. Miriam, how does this work? So you put your birth info in the chat and I get to you when I can. I prioritize people who are members of the channel and people who donated or tipped me. So. Okay. I'm going to whoever was next. Whoever was next. Okay, who's this? We did Amber. We did Heather. Okay, now it's Sheila. Sheila, it's your time. It's time for Sheila. 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 And we have another Gemini. Sheila, won't you give me some time? I've got to give myself one more chance to ring the band that I know I'm in. Ring the band that I know I'm in. Leave no. Why don't you tell baby daddy I'm gonna need his love? Why don't he give me his love? Why don't he give me his Shimon? That's Scissor Sisters. For anyone who likes queer music. Scissor Sisters are dope as fuck though. So we have another Virgo rising. So we've already talked about some of the timing, right? We already know that Saturn's going through your 7th house, and we saw that strains relationships because we get hyper independent, right? We already saw that Jupiter's going through your 10th house, which is great for success, right? For having new opportunities pop up. But then Mars coming in here, starting on the 20th and going to what? I want to say late August, early September. I want to say early September. But that causes fights with authority figures or a loss of reputation. You know, we do something that makes us look silly or embarrasses us or makes other people think less of us. I always say for me, when this happened, I started making adult content and I got a lot of shit for it. So now in terms of your own, see, Venus is going through your 12th house, which once again is about self-care, right? Getting into therapy or, finding solace and pleasure in your own company. This is about healing trauma and mental stuff. Hi, Vesna. How are you? We have Slow, San Luis Obispo. Slow. I love San Luis Obispo. We called it Slow. S-L-O. And look, we have an exalted Jupiter in the 11th house, ruling the 4th house. So I wonder if Dad was a popular person. And also ruling what? Your 7th house. So I wonder if there's luck with a partnership or a marriage as you get older, because it's a very happy Jupiter, Very happy Jupiter. But you have difficulty with money, don't you, dear? You may get into debt. Excuse me, you may get into debt. And I wonder, when you were younger, if you had a sibling, aunt or uncle or cousin pass away that affected you quite a bit. Military dad died due to suicide. That's my dad also. Hi, Bexy. Bexy, my girlfriend Bexy. She's so wonderful. She's so sweet and beautiful and treats me like a queen. I mean, I am. She's so wonderful. Yay, Bexy. But yeah, I had a military dad too who took his own life, gunshot to the head. Very sad. Happened 21 years ago. But I feel for you, Sheila. I feel for you, my darling. I'm only saying that because I empathize with you. Now, you probably were a very spiritual person growing up, or very interested in spiritual ideas or philosophy. Once again, right? Questions about existence. You see? Questions about existence. Excuse me. What else was I looking at? Oh, you may also get inheritance at some point. Generational wealth. You may get inheritance. I see the part of fortune in the 8th house. It's oftentimes luck from death. Someone dies and leaves you some stuff. Now, Moon in Aquarius also terribly intellectualizes its emotions. So allowing yourself to feel things is part of how you deal with the 8th house trauma. Otherwise, you'll just suppress stuff and stuff it down. It's very important to take care of yourself like that. But see, it's a very happy Mercury ruling your 1st house and in the 10th. So oftentimes I think of someone who does have a modicum of success as they get older. Anyway, you might be really good with animals too. Really good with animals. Sort of like a Dr. Dolittle type. And then you see money is really highlighted in your chart right now because the eclipses are going between your 8th and 2nd house. You may have had a big loss of money after April, but I really think after October 2nd is the next solar eclipse. After October, you're going to see income improve, right? Either beginning a new job or something like that, right? Maybe you quit an old job or you get fired, but then a new opportunity presents itself. So anyway, we got to move on to the next person. Next person. We got to move on to the next person. We did Sheila. We did David Williams. David. We do Ariel Bianco. Ariel, did I miss anyone else who donated up here? And Ariel, can you... Oh, I see your stuff. Ariel wants synastry. So we have Ariel. Ariel. Beyond Kimono. Beyond Kimono. August 3rd, 1983. Same year as me. You were born a couple months after me. 9:26 p.m. in the city of Santa Monica. In the city of Brentwood. Keep me rocking. Keep me rocking. And Ariel partner. Ariel partner. 9/13/84. 9/13/84. 3 p.m. Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. Okay. So I'm going to briefly look at both natals. Really briefly. I just want to see the 7th house ruler. 7th house ruler is Mercury, right in the 7th house. So relationships are quite important. But again, I sense with Venus there in Virgo, not very happy, and stationing retrograde, that there's been a difficulty with relationships, possibly because you get codependent, possibly because you're deferential and trying to meet someone else's expectations, fitting yourself into a little box. You could tell me I'm wrong, I don't know, but I'm just saying that's something I see. 8th house. Where's Taurus? 3rd house. And you probably need an intellectual type partner. I mean, that's a very happy Jupiter ruling the 1st house, you know. I mean, that's very auspicious for, you know, life direction, success, getting good PR, press, or recognition, you see. Now let's look at his. Or they. I don't know if they're... I shouldn't assume people's gender or whatever. Jupiter conjunct the ascendant, which is auspicious, but it's a fallen Jupiter in Capricorn. And Jupiter rules the 12th house. And where's Pisces? Here. The 3rd house. Right? So it makes me think maybe you have a sibling who you might be estranged from, or who may be a bit successful, who may be sort of a confident, well-recognized, well-liked kind of person, or someone who gets sort of demanding of you, who's very selfish and just expects you to cater to whatever their shit is, you know? Sorry, David Williams, depression and anxiety, yeah. I did used to work as a firefighter, first responder. Anyway, we have an Aries moon. Maybe mom had a bad temper. And the moon on the IC, that's sort of a very deep placement. You see, you would feel things very deeply, even despite being an Aries moon. Family history would probably be very important to you. Maybe history in general. Your place of birth, your nationality, your ancestors. All that stuff might be quite important to you. Right? Where's Cancer? 7th house. Right? You probably need a partner who feels like home, who you can introduce to your family or your parents. Right? So, and you have a 5th house North Node like me. You may have been a very serious kid who was really interested in, you know, big topics like politics or the world situation. Like, what do we do about this or that? You may have been involved in political or activist groups. You know I was as a kid. And then as we get older, especially now, where you're at in your life now, life becomes more and more about you and having fun and your pleasure, you know? Or, sorry, I meant to do synastry. I went off on a tangent. Jesus Christ. Synastry. Jesus Christ. I'm sorry. I went off on a whole thing. Put your synastry so you can see it. Well, you can kind of see it. It's the formatting. So I look for bad stuff first. Pluto, Saturn, Mars, right? Your Pluto is opposite his moon or their moon, whatever. So there's obsession, there's mutual obsession. It would be very hard to break up. This relationship feels more like an addiction, you know? Feels like an addiction. There may be a lot of jealousy back and forth. There could be the codependent stuff. I see it often with Pluto moon, right? They are the moon person. So they might feel like you squash their emotions or trample on their feelings, or they might be scared to express their feelings to you, you know? Nothing that way. Nothing that way. Your Saturn opposite their moon, that's another difficult one emotionally, right? It feels like we're stifled or suppressed. Like it might feel, once again, like this person can't share their feelings with you, or they have to hide their feelings or something like that. Or it may feel like that you have all these arbitrary rules or expectations, and perhaps maybe they feel anxious about it. But it's also good for longevity, for keeping people together. Just sometimes we might feel trapped, like we can't leave. So it's not, I'm not saying that's necessarily the case. It's just what I often see. Remember, I'm doing bad stuff first. Saturn square the sun, right? Once again, you could feel like he's trying to hold you back, or maybe he gets jealous because you're shining like the sun. And other people might be like, oh, who's that badass bitch over there? And he's like, stop looking at my girl, you know? So I'm not saying that's necessarily the case, but it's something we often see. His Mercury square your moon. Communication is difficult. You know, either one of you will want to avoid communication because you're scared or you don't want to deal with it. But then Mercury conjunct Mercury, on the other hand, is great for communication. And then his moon is trine your Mercury. Once again, great for communication. So you see, there's still some wonderful stuff here. Mars trine the sun is great for, you know, fun competition and busting each other's balls, you see. What else do I see? Mars trine the sun. Your Mars sextile his sun. Okay, and this is another difficult one. Your Mars square his moon, right? That feels like you trample his emotions, right? That's bickering. There's fights and conflicts, right? Hurt feelings. Not always. I mean, I have this with Bexy. It's still a new relationship, but, you know, we always hurt the ones we love, don't we? So it's just we have to be careful about it. And then Neptune trine the moon, it's like an idyllic love. It's like Romeo and Juliet. Behold, what light from yonder window breaks. It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Right? Anyway. So, but there's a lot of good stuff here. There's a lot of good stuff. Saturn trine the ascendant is great for a long-term relationship. You see? Oh, idyllic love, but watch out for looking at each other through rose-colored glasses and being apologetic for toxic behavior when you really should acknowledge it. Stephanie Brandon, I just saw you now. Stephanie. Please let me know your birth info because I don't see it. Please let me know your birth info, Stephanie. And then I'll start going sequentially down the line. So anyway, Ariel, I hope that was useful. After Ariel, we are going to... Is it Stephanie? Stephanie? And then we'll start going sequentially down the line, which would put Deepika first. Deepika. So let me know, Stephanie, where is your birth info, my dear Stephanie? Stephanie, my love. Stephanie. I don't see your info, Stephanie. Please, date, time, city. Date time city, date time city. If you want a reading, of course. You're welcome, Ariel. Stephanie, are you here? I think you've sung that song to me every time. I'm sorry. I know. I'm a Taurus Mercury and I repeat like the same jokes and the same lines often over and over again. I got to get some new material, you know. Stephanie, please. I don't see your information. If I don't see your stuff, I'm gonna have to move on. But I want to get to you, my darling, because I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for your wonderful donation. So please, Stephanie, put your birth info in. There's a delay in the chat, I think. I think there's a big delay in the chat. So please, Stephanie, I don't see you. Oh, wait, now I see you. Stephanie Brandon. Okay, May the 12th, 1983. You were born a couple weeks before me. Stephanie Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. Sorry, it's a joke. Every time I see, oh, you motherfucker! I hate when Solar Fire does this to me. This is why I always say date time city, because if things are in the wrong sequence, then I start throwing up errors. 5:43 a.m. Louisville. 5:43 a.m. Louisville. Amber's from Kentucky. Ain't that right, Amber? The fuck? Why is this shit? There we go. So we have Stephanie. Stephanie, thank you for putting your stuff up again. That's very helpful. And then we'll start getting to everyone else. We still have time. And I'll probably go over. Oh, look at this. We've got a new moon baby in Taurus. Taurus rising. And this is a classic stellium. We've got 3 or more planets conjunct in the same sign, right? And I do whole sign houses. So that means, you know, the same house, of course, too. So this is all wonderful. This is wonderful stuff, but there's difficulties for other reasons, you see. First of all, being a new moon baby has like an Aries quality to it, right? We're sort of naive and childlike, but full of energy, and we burst onto the scene, you know, like Madonna. She's a new moon baby, right? And I mean, she was pissing people off when I was a kid in the 80s and in the 90s, right? She was, oh, hold on. I have to throw the chart up on the screen. There we go. So anyway, new moon babies sort of like, they have this naive quality. They often get taken advantage of because they're just naturally trusting. But they also are very energetic and aggressive, you know, in lots of ways. Very active. Sometimes they're pissing people off without even knowing it. Like Madonna, right? She really upset Christians and Catholics, you know, with some of her religious iconography and symbolism. Excuse me. You were born around this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction like I was. Excuse me. And with your part of fortune in the first house, your success comes from you and your confidence. It comes from self-reliance. You know, not saying that you shouldn't have relationships, but you might tend to be interested in partners who are, you know, either narcissistic or really confident type guys, if you're interested in guys, you know. Like these are the Chads, the big men on campus, you know. And sometimes that can make them a bit arrogant. And that might be sexy to you. You might like those strong, confident guys, you know. You like that sort of thing. But you have your own sort of, it might be sort of uncomfortable sometimes, you know. You might be, it's my sleep time, 1 a.m. in India. I know, Anushri, I'm getting to people as I can. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I'm sorry. Okay? I'll try and look at what your question was in just a second. You recently broke up with your man. Broke up, ma'am. Thank you for calling me ma'am. You're very sweet. Feel very disappointed. So anyway, so you have Chiron in the first house too, which often indicates sort of a hidden simpiness, right? A hidden craving for validation. So, you know, but material resources become a big part of your life as you get older, especially now. You know, either starting your own business or having your own stuff. Because when you were younger, it felt like you had to wait for other people to give you things, right? You were always at the whims of other people for what you needed. Maybe they held stuff over your head, like, oh, I do so much for you, so these are your expectations, you know. That's, see, if I were a modern astrologer, I'd be like, oh, look, a mystic rectangle. See, I don't read fucking aspect patterns because I think they're stupid. I did it for many years. It's like, oh, you got a mystic rectangle? Well, I've got a paranormal parallelogram, you know? I've got an occult octagon. You could make up all kinds of shit. Then your chart turns into cat's cradle, you know? What's interesting is going through the aspects and how they all connect together and tell you a narrative or a story about the life, right? And that's what a good astrologer does. You don't get caught up in pop bullshit like mystic rectangles and vomit like that. But you see, learning to build your own little empire, that's what the life is about oftentimes, you see. Right? There may have been a sense of loss or not having your own stuff growing up. So it's important for you to build your own independence, your own financial independence, right? You also have a Cancer Venus like me, and we are simpy as fuck. So you do have this hidden simpiness. It's pretty clear to me. Pretty clear to me, right? And that's why we gravitate towards confident people, because we sort of latch on to their stuff, and it makes us feel, you know, more complete. But we have to find our own completion within, right? That's what's really important here. You may have gotten luck with inheritance or something like that. Like, you may actually get an inheritance, right? But maybe it happens later in life. So in terms of timing, though, you got Jupiter going through your second house, which is lovely for starting a business, for changing jobs, for new sources of income, right? And for managing our resources. Meanwhile, though, Mars is going to be entering your second house, which makes us spend more money, right? So lock away your credit cards, okay? Or you need to save during this period because you could have unexpected expenses come out of left field, right? And Saturn's going through your 11th house right now, sort of straining relationships, making you feel more alone, making you feel unsupported, you see? But you have to recognize through this transit, A, that, you know, you do have to rely on yourself a little bit, but B, it's okay to trust people, and you have to allow people in, right? And you're going to have conflicts with friends and supporters, right? But that's okay, because that's inevitable. You have to allow yourself to let people in again, right? It's a big thing with Saturn going through the 11th house. Sometimes we feel left out, or we feel made fun of, or we feel rejected, you see? But that's not who you are. Like, your friends and people don't define you unless we allow them to. So learning self-reliance, and then being able to approach relationships with friends and stuff with a greater sense of equanimity, because, right, you've learned some self-reliance, you see? Because you've learned some self-reliance. There's obviously a delay in the chat. I'm sorry. There's obviously a delay in the chat. We talked about timing. Yeah. Venus going through your 4th house too. Time to enjoy your own company. Decorate your home space. Make it feel beautiful. Make it feel like you feel within. Your home space should be a reflection, right, of how you feel inside. You know, like mine is sort of a chaos. Chaos theory, you know. But we got to move on to the next person. We'll do Anushri really quick, you know. Well, Deepika's in India too. Deepika is also in India. Um, Deepika is also in India. So I'll take the India people first because they got to get to bed. The India people have to get to bed. So we'll get to India right now. Deepika, we got December 17th, 1996. Are you still here, Deepika, or did you go to sleep? Did you go to sleep, Deepika? Please let me know. Because otherwise I'll move on to Anushri. Anushri. Bangalore. Bangalore. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. Deepika, you are still here. And then we'll get to Anushri, okay? We're doing the India people first because they have to get to sleep. So Deepika is a Taurus rising. Deepika is a Taurus rising with and Deepika, what was your question? Did you have a specific question? Do you have a specific question, Deepika? Let me know while I look at stuff here. So your first house ruler is Venus in the 8th house. So what's your specific question, Deepika? What's your specific question? Please let me know. When the first house ruler's in the 8th house, as I said before, I think of self-harm, right? So be careful with self-harm. Don't hurt yourself. Don't hurt yourself. You're waiting to get married. Deepika said she's waiting to get married. So Deepika, your 7th house ruler is Mars in the 5th house, right? So you need a fun-loving, childlike type of partner. Probably someone who will give you children, right? Probably. I will not be able to tell you, Deepika, when you will get married because we're not doing advanced timing techniques. In order to answer that question, I would have to do a full reading with you where I would look at natal chart, solar return, progressions, transits, and zodiacal releasing all together. That's how I would answer that question. Okay? And look at planetary activation. This is just a very brief transits and natal reading. That's a very... Now, I could pull a tarot card for you as far as your marriage. But Mars doesn't look too bad. Mars doesn't look too bad, but Mars is also your most difficult planet, being that Mars is what's called your out-of-sect benefic. You're looking to go for France as well in September. We talked about that. I pulled cards for you for your France thing last time. Like I said, it looked good. It looked like things are speeding up. So now, but you need partners who are sort of fun and free and childlike and who also want children, who like children, and maybe who are quite sexual. But that's how we make children, isn't it? You know, you got all this stuff in the 9th house, which suggests you're probably a spiritual person, right? You're a spiritual person, and also traveling abroad, which we've already talked about. Jupiter in the 9th house, as I said, it's a very unhappy Jupiter, unfortunately, but it gives someone, you know, a lot of faith. It gives someone a lot of faith, you know, so that's quite interesting. Pluto conjunct Venus. No wonder you keep asking me about relationships. You're obsessive with partners. You know, you are obsessive with partners. And you're probably a bit creepy when it comes to relationships. You know, like you get obsessive with partners. You obsess about certain people. You know, you're always thinking about them. Oh my gosh, I love this person. Do they love me? Do they love me? What do I do? You know? And a lot of times people with this are often very alluring and also very sexual or intense, you know? Anushri says I'm spiritual, I'm a witch. We'll get to you in just a second, Anushri, because right now we're looking at Deepika. Deepika. So, now Jupiter's going through Gemini, which is your second house, which is good for your financial situation, you see? Good for your financial situation. You need to chill though when it comes to relationships. Like, I understand that in your culture, marriage is very important, you know? Very, very important, and especially to your parents. You know, I mean, I'm not trying to be stereotyping you. I just had a lot of friends from India and a lot of clients, and it's just a pattern I've noticed, you know? So, so that could be a source of difficulty between you and your parents. And I wonder if your dad passed away early on. I mean, you're still quite young, but Casey, I'm not forgetting anyone. I'm getting to people sequentially, sweetheart. So no, we're not forgetting anyone. We're going sequentially. We prioritize donations and members, and then we get to everybody else, right? We're doing the India people first because, you know, they're going to sleep. So we're doing Anushri really quick after. So anyway, there's a lot of good luck for money, but you have to watch. You're about to spend a bunch of money, and it's probably to do with your traveling that's coming up. You see? Having to do with your traveling that's coming up. Jupiter rules your 8th house. Yeah, I wonder if your dad passed away. I wonder if your dad passed away. Jupiter also rules your 11th house. So, see, when I see Moon in the 11th house, I think of people who can be a bit popular, you know? Loneliness and mental health issues were a big part of your growing up. And now, as you get older, well, not now, you'll see it more in your late 30s. But as you get older, the life is more about taking responsibility for things and learning self-reliance, you see? You love your mom. Oh, your dad did pass away. I'm so sorry. And you love your mom very much. Where's the moon again? Oh, yeah, moon. Yeah, moon in Pisces in the 11th house. Yeah, your mom might be a popular person too. Other people might like your mother. She might be well liked. So anyway, I mean, there's good stuff going on. Gemini, Venus is going through your 4th house. So it could be some luck with generational wealth. You may have gotten some inheritance from your father. That's often a thing, right? We talked about Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. I have not had a relationship even once. I mean, yeah, and you still are quite young. You know, and when you go to France, you might want to have more casual relationships rather than just looking for marriage. Well, you just said you're just looking for marriage, you know, and that could be a difficult thing if you're just looking for marriage, especially in the West, because a lot of people are shopping around in the West before they finally get married. I mean, I know in the United States, the Christians are trying to get rid of divorce, but you know, we still have that thing. But I mean, I would say, again, it's not for me to say what you should or shouldn't do. But my first impression is that you're way too obsessed with marriage and with finding a partner. You kind of have to let things happen, you know, rather than being so worked up about it. You have to keep moving on with your life and with what you can control, because you can't necessarily control meeting someone. And in order to see that, I'd have to look at your zodiacal releasing for a better idea of when that might happen. But in terms, let's see here. These are your peak periods. Taurus and Leo. Taurus and Leo for zodiacal releasing. But your best periods would probably be Capricorn. Capricorn periods. Capricorn periods. But see, Saturn is still involved. It'll always be. Anyway, you don't know about that. I'm not going to go into it. So that's Deepika. Now we're going to go to Anushri. I hope you're still here, Anushri, because I'm going to get to you quickly. Anushri. Anushri. Anushri, April 19th, 99. Gary. What? Okay. See, this is why I asked for date, time, city. You didn't give me a time, Anushri. I need a time. I'll have to move on to the next person. You didn't give me a birth time, sweetheart. I can't do anything without your birth time. I need your birth time, Anushri. I will very quickly pull a tarot card for your marriage shit, but then I'm moving on. I don't have time to sit here and miss other people. Other people are getting antsy. Other people are getting antsy. Anushri, I can't do your reading unless you give me a birth time, sweetheart. (8:30 a.m.) Thank you. So this is the Nine of Wands. It symbolizes having gone through a lot of difficulties, right? So there's strength that comes from having endured some painful circumstances. So relation, let me ask for some clarification here. Okay. So difficult circumstances lead you to some sort of success or relationship, but eventually you have to let it go. So, right? Success after facing a lot of adversity, pain and suffering, right? And here's the success, the Chariot, right? This is also the Cancer card. So to me, this is also saying that you do meet someone. But then we have the Eight of Cups, which is a sense of emotional loss at some point. So you may fall in love with someone and it may be unrequited love. So, but it does look like you eventually meet someone. It just might not always turn out the way you want it. But keep trying. Eventually, eventually it does. And you can't just marry the first person you meet, because maybe that's what it's saying. That's what it's saying, is you can't just marry the first person you meet. Because otherwise, okay, we got 8:30 a.m. for Anushri. You can't just marry the first person that you meet, because that might lead to breaking up, or a sense of loss, or a sense of emotional dissatisfaction. Like you get married and you're like, oh, I'm miserable. Where the fuck? I can't see it. Oh, there we go. Dava. Okay. So real quickly here, then I'm going over, okay? I'm going to go over another half hour, so we'll try and get to as many people as possible, okay? There's only 13 people here. Come the fuck on. Oh, look at this. We've got Venus conjunct the Gemini ascendant, right? You're probably very attractive. I would imagine you're very attractive. And what was your question? What was your question again? Your partner left you? Was that what it was? Oh, you want to know about your career. Well, first of all, let's look at your 10th house ruler, which is Jupiter in the 11th house. Jupiter in the 11th house. Which often means that, our life... When I see Jupiter ruling the 10th house and the 11th house, I think of people who are good salesmen or saleswomen. People who can persuade others. People who get persuasive. You see? And you might be popular. People might like you, use your ability to work with people to your advantage. See, that's how you would get success in your careers, by networking, And then, see, I wonder if you're interested in having a small business. I see the part of fortune in the second house, which says to me, like, success may come from having a small business, right? Or investing your material resources. So anyway, that's quite important. But you would get luck from networking and meeting other people. It might be friends that give you opportunities. Someone's like, oh, hey, there's this new job at work. You should apply, or whatever, right? But it does look like there's some good stuff for career. Now, the difficult part, well, where's Mercury? See, Mercury's in the 11th house too. And see, Mercury in Aries can be quite impulsive, can just blurt shit out without thinking about it. And they always break stuff on accident, of course. They're always like, playing with things and, oh, it broke. Why did that happen? You see? Now, the moon rules your second house of money and is in the 12th. So I wonder if there's hidden money, right, that you're not aware of. Or if you get money from, through shady enterprises, or being involved with mental health or prisons or institutions or something like that in some way. But it is an exalted moon in Taurus. It is an exalted moon. So it does, once again, look like there is some success with career stuff. But let's talk about some more details. Jupiter's going through your first house in Gemini, which again is good for confidence and building that thing up. With Venus conjunct your ascendant, you probably are a bit confident and attractive. So rely on that. See, Saturn's going through your 10th house right now, Anushri, and that's very difficult for career. And you got to be careful not to get depressed and discouraged, because you see, Saturn's going to leave your 10th house next year. Summer of next year, I think June of next year. How will your married life be? Well, hold on a second. You asked about career, and I'm doing very briefly. But the thing about Saturn going through the 10th house, we feel like we miss opportunities. We don't get the jobs, right? We don't get recognition, right? But as you get to next year, like January especially, you're going to see new opportunities emerge. Saturn is making you change life directions. Whatever you were doing before was becoming, a dead end or unsatisfying. So Saturn is going to force you. So I expect next year, as you get into like February, March next year, you're going to see new opportunities emerge, or you're going to see a new change in life direction that will determine the rest of your opportunities coming up. And I really think as you get older, your ability to speak and communicate and connect with people, maybe producing media, writing, that will factor in more and more and more, right? So we talked about that. Now, your marriage stuff, Jupiter rules your 7th house. Now, with Jupiter going through your first house, that could be lucky for marriage, right? Now, if I wanted to get into it, I would look at your zodiacal releasing, but we're not doing that because that's too much to do. So you see, what else is going on? Venus, Leo. Mars is going to your first house too. I mean, this will feel good. This will feel good. You'll get a lot more activity and once again, confidence. Just be careful you don't hurt yourself. But this is a very auspicious time in your life. You're going to see opportunities start to emerge next year. Just right now, it feels sluggish and slow, right? So anyway, and I do see something with children, eventually. Well, the eclipse is going to be in your 5th house in October. It could be about having fun again, enjoying yourself and all that. Or it could be about children. But, I mean, you are quite young. I don't know what your plans are. So, and it's not like you have a marriage and then children between now and October. Although it could be, that whole 6 months following October. So from October to April or wherever the fuck it is. So, but your married life doesn't look bad. It looks like you meet partners through friends or they're friends with you first. You see? So anyway, but we got to move on. We got to move on. We got to move on. Who is still here? Because I know people were dropping off. Is Cara Lee still here? Cara Lee? I see Cara Lee. I also see the Ruskinja one. Did I do, or that's Sheila. That was Sheila. Who's still here? Madeline Young? Do we still have Cara Lee? Who's still here? Please tell me. Holler if you hear me. Otherwise, I'll just start. I'll start at the top. I'll start at the top. Who's still here? Misty. You're welcome, Anushri. Okay, Carolee is still here. So Carolee, I'm going to you. Carolee. 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 Don't take my man or woman. I prefer women, but I go both ways, you know? So Carolee. Carolee. And then I have to eat at some point. I'm getting hungry. I'm getting hungry. I'm getting hungry. May 13th, 93. 11. Thank you for doing Date Time City. Thank you for doing Date Time City. Excuse me. Jolene. Jolene, Jolene. I love that song, Jolene. Oops. 11:15 a.m. It was a.m., right? I'm pretty sure. Campbell. Cool, Campbell River. Okay, Carolee. 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 We have another Leo rising, Mars conjunct the ascendant. You probably get dry skin. Mars is hot and dry. So we often have to moisturize. Or you probably have frizzy hair. Frizzy hair and you need to moisturize, you know. And then I see Chiron in the first house also. So once again, to me, that signals someone who looks for external validation. But then you have Saturn in the 7th house, along with the moon, right? Moon in the 7th house is simpy and also looks for external validation. But the moon is in Aquarius, which makes it a bit aloof and afraid of vulnerability, afraid to connect with people. And you see Saturn is in the 7th house too, conjunct. Saturn in the 7th house indicates oftentimes a hyper-independence, you see? A hyper-independence. And that comes from the fact that as a child, you probably learned you couldn't trust people, right? You probably learned that people were going to let you down, that you had to do everything yourself, and you're afraid to trust people. And that, again, is the source of the independence. But deep down, you really want a partnership, and deep down, you have an issue with your self-confidence, right? Now, when I see Moon conjunct Saturn, I have the same thing. And I had a terrible time with confidence growing up. And I had to learn about all that. But it also gives us emotional issues. We can see depression. We can see very domineering and strict and sometimes abusive mothers. You know, it could be quite difficult. And you probably do have depression and some mental health issues. I know for me, I'm bipolar with BPD features. You see, I have to take medication. I have 2 therapists, you see, and it's just part of the cards I was dealt in life. You see, astrology is about how we face our fate. Correct? And your 7th house ruler is in the 7th house also. Once again, indicating that despite the sense of hyper-independence, there's a longing for love. There's a longing for connection and relationships. But you have to learn that relationships only become fulfilling when you're willing to walk away. And why is that? Because when you're too scared to walk away, we let people treat us like garbage, don't we? So once again, the life motif here is about cultivating your own sense of confidence. Because the hyper-independence doesn't come from confidence, it comes from fear, doesn't it? And we're able to be vulnerable with people and to connect with people when we're not so afraid. You will get hurt, sweetheart. You will get hurt, regardless. It's inevitable. You just have to assume it's going to happen and move forward, you know, with love and confidence, because good stuff can happen. Saturn is very happy in their home sign or her home sign of Aquarius, you see? So it's still sort of an auspicious thing. And then the sun rules your first house and is up at the top of the chart in the 10th house, which is another very auspicious thing, you see? And then your part of fortune's up there too, which indicates to me that your success in life comes through recognition, professional recognition, the stuff that you're known for, finding a life direction, finding a career or a chosen path or vocation or skill or trade, right? That gives you a good reputation. You see? That's very important. I want to be taken care of, but I feel like I'm the boss and leader. Yeah. And cannot be babied. Yeah. But you long for nurturing, right? Well, you say it's from Cancer in the 12th house. I would disagree with that, but you know, whatever resonates with you, of course. But I mean, Donald Trump has Mars in his first house, conjunct his ascendant like you do. My mom has Mars in the first house, right? Mars in the first house is the leader placement. They feel like leaders. But my mother also has other more difficult placements, right? She has her first house ruler in the 6th house, right? She's got Venus in Virgo, which is very simpy also. So you see, there's that dissonance or that conflict. But we have conflicting desires. We want to be the leader and we want to be babied, right? We want to be baby girl and we want to be mommy. So, you know. Anyway, and we're gonna move on in just a second because I gotta get to other people before we adjourn. You see, you have a Mercury in Taurus too. Hopefully, you already heard me talk about Mercury in Taurus. Saturn going through your 8th house right now, which is often like loss. So you may experience a loss in money. You may experience a death of someone close to you. And it may just be about forgiveness and reconciling with people. Maybe you've had conflicts where you cut people off and now's the time to forgive and reconcile, you know? Rockabilly. I love how you say very simpy. I know, it's just like, this is the vocabulary I've developed, you know? So, yeah, I'm pretty hilarious. See, Moon square Pluto. That's mommy trauma, mama trauma. And it's the bipolar coaster, right? We have high highs and low lows. And oftentimes, mom did too. There can be an abusive or domineering mother, just like the Saturn thing oftentimes. Mama trauma, and the bipolar coaster. We go to heaven and down to hell. So just be careful with that shit. Talk about Saturn going through 8th house, loss and forgiveness, facing trauma and facing our fear, right? Jupiter going through the 11th house. You're now getting more support and luck from your networks and friends and well-wishers, right? Patrons, people who appreciate the work you do. And with Jupiter in the 3rd house, I imagine that some of the work you do involves, your ability to speak, communicate, and connect with others. You see? But Mars is going to go through the 11th house too for a couple months, which indicates cutting off friends, getting in fights, right? People ghosting you or stop talking to you. So just be aware of that. But then things improve, you see? And Venus is going through your 1st house, which is great for feeling attractive and sexy and meeting new partners. So let's move on to the next person though. Who do we still have here? We just looked at Carolee, and then we have Misty Michelle. Where was Misty Michelle's stuff? Misty Michelle, where's your birth information? I'm trying to look for your birth information. And Casey will get to you too, don't worry. Misty Michelle, do you mind putting your birth information back in there? And Casey, we have to get to Casey. Where's Misty Michelle? Misty Michelle. I'm looking for your birth info. Birth info. We might have to do Casey first. I think Casey was first anyway. Then we're getting to Misty Michelle. We'll do Casey, then Misty Michelle. Miriam is still here from Pakistan. And yes, Miriam, you've been very patient, and you're in Karachi. So we will get to you post haste. Misty Michelle from San Diego. Look at you. We did Kara Lee. Casey was actually before, so we'll do Casey first, and then we'll get to Misty Michelle and Miriam from Karachi. Casey. 92. 5:59 p.m. Pikeville, Kentucky. Pikeville, Kentucky. How does the children aspect on my chart look? How many, and will I get my babies back soon? So did you have children taken away from you? Did you have children? We'll look. We'll look. Okay, see, you have Saturn in the 5th house. That is difficult for children. You're still very young. So, I mean, that's interesting to me, too, that you said, it sounds like you said your babies were taken away, that you had children removed from you, which is sort of indicative of Saturn in the 5th house. But you see that Saturn is also in the sign that she rules, right? Saturn is happy in Aquarius. But the thing about Saturn in Aquarius is that, well, a happy Saturn takes a long time to do anything good. And you're still very young. I mean, you're what? You're 32? 32 or 33? Gosh, I mean, the children thing looks very difficult. But it looks like it does improve, you know? Let me think here. See, I wonder if they were taken away in 2022. I wonder if the... Oh, you have friends in Karachi, my dear Bexy. You are so sweet. You have friends in Karachi. So anyway, this is a difficult placement for children. But things do improve as you get older, as you approach, you know, your late 30s, unfortunately. So I do think you will get your children back or establish a better relationship with them. It'll just take a while. And I imagine your children were probably taken from you in 2021 or 2022. Am I correct in that? Probably before Saturn went into Pisces in March of 2023. And now that Saturn is in your 6th house, this is difficult because you're having to pick up the pieces, right? You're having to take responsibility for things. You're having to do all the stuff that you don't want to do. So there might be legal stuff involved. I don't know, right? You do, this place is love. So there might be some legal stuff going on. I imagine that you have health problems too. I mean, you're probably attractive. You're probably an attractive person. 7th house ruler is Mars in the 6th house. So, you know, you probably have divorces or, you know, you've either been through divorce or are going to go through divorce at some point. I hate to say it, but Venus in the 6th house like I have. Although she's happy in Pisces. She is. She rules your 8th house. Pets dying. Pets dying early on. There might have been an animal in your life you loved very much that died and it really hurt you. It really hurt you. Libra. Oh, your 1st house ruler in the 6th house. Once again, health issues. Health issues. Or people might just, you know, treat you pretty crappy. Legal problems, yes. Mental problems, yes. Getting ready for divorce in the 17th. So there you go. That's the divorce thing, isn't it? Now, the legal problems are going to get better. And why do I say that? Because Jupiter's going through your 9th house now. And Jupiter going through your 9th house will eventually improve the legal situation. But in the next few months, it'll really stress you out. Because Mars will be going through your 9th house. And that'll create fights in court. You see? Because the 9th house isn't just spirituality. It's also the law. Right? And legal issues. So you could be getting into a court battle briefly. I mean, this will be a couple months of concern, of worry and stress over this court stuff. You see? Mars also cuts things off. So that's another indicator here that this is a legal issue that's going to cut something off, right? And friends will be very helpful at this time with Venus going through your 11th house. Call your friends up. Rely on your homies. Rely on your girls, you know? Like, you got to find some enjoyment in life still. You probably were a very serious child, and you're not very good at having fun. You know, you need to learn how to have fun. I know it's stressful in a time like this, right? But bit by bit, your home and family life is going to become the most important thing to you. You see? That'll be very important. Very, very important. I wonder if you can sing. Are you a good singer? Do you sing? See, in the sun in the seventh house is simpy as fuck too. Even though you're an Aries, you can get codependent and all that shit, you know? So just don't let people take advantage of you. Your ideal type of partner is someone who can share life with you, right? Take responsibility for things. People who have their shit together. You may like submissive partners. I don't know. Or you may just like hardworking partners. Partners who are consistent and reliable. You know? Anyway, there's good stuff going on here, sweetheart. So I do see improvements with the legal issue, but the children issue is difficult and takes a long time to improve. And by a long time, I mean over the next few years, right? Over the next few years. And then Saturn in 2025 is going to go in, you're currently with a Capricorn. That's quite interesting. In 2025, Saturn's going to go into your seventh house, and that'll strain relationships because it makes you hyper independent, as we talked about earlier. Anyway, from Casey, we now go to, who was next, did we say? It was Misty Michelle. Misty Michelle, please tell me you're still here. Misty Michelle. Misty Michelle, please tell me you're still here, my darling. Please tell me you're still here. Holla if you hear me. Holla if you hear me. Where the fuck did Misty Michelle's info go? I just saw it. Misty Michelle. Oops. September 26, 1990. 9:12 a.m. San Diego. In the city of San Diego. In the city of Escondido. I was from Escondido. I lived in Escondido. In the city of LA. Okay, Misty Michelle has a Scorpio rising with Pluto in the first house. Pluto in the first house makes people kind of creepy, you know? It can give people a dark aesthetic kind of thing. Makes us kind of emo, you know? It doesn't have to be, though. It's oftentimes a powerful presence, you know? Oh, you live in Oside? You live in Oside. Yeah. I mean, you're directly west of where I was, you know? I would take the, I can't remember what the freeway was. The fuck was that freeway? The one that goes, you know, the fuck was that freeway? The 78. The 78. See, I've only been in Colorado for a few years and I've already forgotten. The 78. So you see, oh, you have Mars in Gemini like I do. You could be a terrible arguer. You're about to have your Mars return. And you have Mars in your 8th house, which often signifies issues with debt. Issues with debt, you see? Money loss. Money loss. So just be careful. Yeah, thank you, the 78. But just be careful with money for the next few months. Because it can be difficult, you see? You might have unexpected expenses, like, you know, the car breaks down or whatever. So be careful, okay? Now, you also have a difficult thing. You have the sun ruling your first house in the 10th house, right? Or sorry, in the 12th house, rather. In the 12th house, which can often indicate either A, difficult time with career, or B, a career that has to do with, you know, people's well-being, mental health. We see social workers, therapists, people who work in prisons or hospitals, right? All that sort of thing. People who work with other people's pain in some way is something we commonly see. You know, although We do see people who put people in prison, like Kamala Harris, who actually I do like, but she was Attorney General of California, and she was known for putting people away. She was Attorney General. So that's something we do see. We see people involved with the law, in the legal system, oftentimes. Joe Biden has this too, and he was a lawyer, right? I mean, he went right from law to politics. And we see people who are oftentimes viewed as enemies or who are discounted, or like Joe Biden says, count it out, right? They count me out, Jack. Hey, man. And you have Saturn in the third house, which indicates to me that you may have had neurodivergence or speech impediments, right? Stutters we see, things like that. The other thing too, with Saturn in the third house, is it is often difficulties in primary school growing up. Something may have taken you out of primary school, or you had sometimes there's an intellectual inferiority complex. Like we're too afraid to speak up because we feel stupid. Come here, cat. You want to come up? Come here. Here, I'll pick you up. I'll pick you up, sweetheart. I'll pick you up. This is one of my babies. One of my babies, Castor. And he has a brother named Pollux. So anyway. Mars rules your first house too, so be careful with self-harm. Beating yourself up and all that sort of thing. And then I wonder if maybe a friend passed away when you were younger. Now, in terms of timing, see, when I see Venus, she's not happy in Virgo, but Venus and Mercury in the 11th house, I think of someone, A, you could probably be a good singer, and B, someone who's, kind of popular. I'm popular. Right? Right? Venus rules the 7th house. So partners who were friends first or meeting partners through friends. And you may have friends who were alcoholics or addicts or who suffer their own. See, the 12th house could be neurodivergence too. You see? So you may have had neurodivergent friends or friends with substance abuse issues or mental health issues. You see? Now, I mentioned all this stuff about the sun in the 12th house as being difficult for career, but then you have Jupiter at the top of the chart conjunct your midheaven, which is like really good for success, But as you get older, you become more and more interested with the private life and less interested with recognition and accomplishment. So anyway. And then you do sing. Yeah, see? I told you. So Misty Michelle, we did Misty Michelle. And now we got to get to Miriam. Let me find your stuff, Miriam. From Karachi. Are you still here, my dear Miriam? Are you still here, Miriam? From Karachi. Miriam Javed. Please let me know you're still here, please. Oh, you're such a sweet cat. You are such a sweet cat. You are such a sweet cat. You're welcome, Misty Michelle. Miriam, are you still here, my love? Are you still here? I'm typing your stuff in. I just want to make sure you're still here. You were born on Christmas Day, 1983. Christmas Day, 1983. 6:10 or 6:15. We'll see if there's a big difference. I'll put in 6:10 just to be safe. Karachi. See, I have Venus in the 6th house too. Divorces, yes. But, an Indian astrologer once told me, like, oh, your women eventually hate you, but their animals love you. And these are the cats of one of my ex-girlfriends. And I love them, and they love me. They are my Gemini cats. Okay, Yes, Miriam, I've got you right here. Okay, Miriam. Are you live now or is this a recording? Arnold Robbins says. I'm live right now. I'm live right now. I am live, Mr. Arnold. Hey, Arnold. Arnold doesn't know about Hey, Arnold. Oh, bye, cat. Okay. So we got a Sagittarius rising with Jupiter conjunct the ascendant. Like, that's wild. That's pretty cool. That's very auspicious and a very happy Jupiter, you know? That's pretty good for success and all that sort of stuff. And then the moon at the top of the chart is also sort of reinforcing that, if you will. You know, but the first part of life here is very much selfish, isn't it? And concerned with the self and its own sort of, you know, success and being winning. Like, maybe you're a bit competitive or you had to be the winner, maybe. But then as you get older, life is more and more about other people, partnerships, marriages, that sort of thing. You see? And maybe that's already started now, right? And Jupiter's going through the fourth house, indicating that maybe you've become estranged from your parents, or you feel like you're an alien in your own homeland, like you're being rejected from your own place of birth. You know, if you're looking for a new home or something like that, it'll feel difficult. It'll feel like you can't, you know, like you don't get any luck. It might feel like you're homeless. But you start to see light at the end of the tunnel next winter, you know, around January, February. And new opportunities start to emerge. And it will get better in 2025. But you see, then Saturn goes into your fifth house in summer of next year. And then you'll begin to feel the instability of life. Life will get chaotic. And you'll feel like you're constantly putting out little fires, right? Now, part of fortune's in your fifth house, indicating that you get some success from children. I'm the fourth out of 5 children. Then there was a lot of competition growing up. That makes sense. You know, that makes sense. And then your third house of siblings, Saturn is in the 12th house. So maybe one of your siblings, I am in fact looking to relocate. Well, see, this is good for you too, because Venus is going through your 9th house of long journeys, right? So you may decide soon to move further away, you know? Or this could be more about your religious or spiritual life, you know? Oh, you work with children in education. Well, see, there's your part of fortune in the 5th house, right? Working with children, 5th house. And we also see elementary school in the 5th house, right? Children, you see? One of my best friends and one of the loves of my life, she has Saturn in the 5th house, right? And she works with neurodivergent children. So there you go. Now, Saturn ruling your 3rd house in the 12th house makes me think one of your siblings has a drug or alcohol problem, or maybe is in prison, or has their own mental health issues, you know? And you have a very unhappy Venus there. Venus rules your 6th house and your 11th house. So I wonder if you've had friends who've also struggled with addiction and mental health issues, if you've had to help them in some way. So you have Mars in the 11th house, which can make us fiercely defensive of our friends on the one hand, but it can also give us a tendency towards fights with friends, right? Or becoming less popular, people not liking us, right? Because we upset people. We might be really aggressive or something like that, you know? Might be really aggressive or something like that. You could say that that's too wide of an orb. I was going to say maybe you could say Mars is sextile the ascendant, but it might be too wide of an orb. But even still, right? With Mars unhappy in Libra, there might be a wishy-washy or passive-aggressive attitude, you know? Oh, you're a psychologist. There's the 12th house. See, there's the 12th house, you see? The 12th house is also therapists. So we see people who have their own drug, alcohol, mental health, neurodivergent issues, or we see therapists who work with those, you know? Arnold Ziffel, the pig on Green Acres. See, I'm a Saturn girl, so I remember I used to watch Green Acres with my old parents, you know. My dad was born in 1940. He was older, you know. So Green Acres is the place to be, right? Yes, I remember Green Acres. I remember Green Acres. But see, the sun in Capricorn in your second house and Mercury in your second house. Now Mercury's retrograde, right? And Mercury rules your 10th house. So career success tends to happen later in life, right? Career success tends to happen later in life because Mercury is retrograde. But both these guys in your second house indicate that you either A, start your own practice or business, or B, that building up your own material little empire is very important to you. But at some point, a marriage or partnership is going to take precedence in your life, right? As you get, and probably now in your life, it's starting to become important to you. You see? Probably now. And you've got Jupiter going through your 7th house. You're probably going to meet a partner soon if you haven't already. But if you're already with someone, Mars is about to go into your 7th house too and could foster breakups. You know, it could cause conflicts with you and a partner. So just be careful you don't say things that you can't take back later, right? Because that happened to me and it resulted in a breakup, you know? So be careful with that. But sometimes the breakups are necessary to make way for someone new, like happened to me also. And I met the wonderful Bexy, you know? The wonderful Bexy, the enchanting Bexy. I do realize I could have married earlier, been very single, heartbreak and all. Well, so if you're single right now, then Mars going into your 7th house is going to agitate you to make you want a relationship. Depending on where you live, if you still live in Pakistan, it's quite difficult to meet people. Or at least I don't know, rather, how people in Pakistan meet people. Here in the West, where I am, we're so sort of secluded from each other that all we really have is dating apps and parties and stuff like that. So I don't know if you guys do cultural festivals or something like that. That would be... but you have to put yourself out there is where I'm getting at. Is what I'm getting at. Because Mars going through your 7th house could make you really get aggressive about trying to find a partner, which is good, gives you motivation. But you have to do it in your own context. I don't know what that looks like. And then Jupiter going through the 7th house for the next year makes the likelihood of finding a new long-term partner very high. Very high. It is difficult to meet the right kind of people here, she says. So, yeah. I'm not sure what that looks like for you, but you have to give yourself opportunities to get out there, you know? And I know for, you know, as you get older, you know, in South Asian cultures, that it gets more and more difficult. There's a stigma with marriage as women get older, you see? I mean, it happens everywhere, really. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, there's good stuff for meeting a partner. And we already talked about Venus. We already talked about Mars. Saturn going through your 4th house we talked about. So let's move on. Who was after Miriam? Miriam. We had Misty Michelle. They call it a shelf life. Yeah, it's so stupid. Like, I'm 41 years old. Like, I've dated people recently from age 23 to age 50, you know? Like, see, that's the thing. It shouldn't be a big deal. Like, the age shouldn't be a big deal. If someone finds you attractive, cool. Like, I have a good friend who met someone who's Iraqi, you know? And, you know, she's divorced and has children. And he's never been married nor had children. And it's a big problem for the parents, you see, because of all the cultural stuff around that. So anyway, who was next? Miriam. I do have to go. I do have to go. I do have to go. I have to eat. I have to eat. Was there anyone that's been here for this whole time and I didn't get to? Is there anyone that's been here for this whole time I didn't get to? Saturn girl. 61 here. Only 2 years difference. Oh, 20 years difference between us. Yeah. Yeah. I haven't gone 20 years yet. Okay, Nuka-Cola. You're the last person then. Nuka-Cola. Please like the stream and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Okay? Please subscribe to my channel and like the stream. Please, please, please. Only 20 years difference. I haven't done a full 20 years yet. I've done 17 years. 17 years. Close, but not quite. You know who does 20 years? Jerry Seinfeld. He did 20 years. I mean, hey, who are these people? What's the deal with old men going after young women? I mean, hey, who are these people? Right? Hey, it's Helga. How are you? I'm good. How are you, sweetheart? Okay, Nuka-Cola. You've been very patient, so we're getting you. Nuka-Cola. 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 Sarah Cummings, I'm going live tomorrow. Same time. Same time tomorrow. Let me just double check my schedule, make sure nothing has changed. I might be a little late tomorrow. It might be 12:30 my time. I might be a couple minutes late because I have a reading right before that. I have a reading with a very nice young lady. Nuka-Cola. 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 May 19th, 86. I've gone now for 2.5 fucking hours. Like, if you can do this, keep talking nonstop for 2.5 hours, like me, like, come on. I want to see you do that. See, I'm good at this shit. You're from Slow. Obispo. Slow. From Slow. Slow ride. Take it easy. No, I'll go live tomorrow, Angelique. I'm going live tomorrow. I might be a few minutes late, though, because I have a reading right, until that time. So just be aware, I'm going live again tomorrow. Going live tomorrow. Oh, we have an Aquarius rising like me. And the ruler of the rising sign is Saturn, retrograding in the 11th house. So you see, your connections to other people sort of define who you are over the life, right? Now, the difficult thing about that is growing up, you may have felt quite bullied, or made fun of, left out, made to feel weird. It's like being the last kid picked for dodgeball, you see? The last kid picked for dodgeball. It's not very fun, And as we get older, we have more of like a tight-knit group of friends. We have trust issues with Saturn in the 11th house. It's hard for us to trust groups of people or people in general, quite frankly, Thank you, Nuka-Cola. You are so sweet. You are so sweet to me. Thank you so much. You are so sweet. Now, having the first house ruler in the 11th house, though, means that connections with people, like the close friendships you do have, will help develop your sense of identity, you see? And you may find yourself getting more connections or more popular as you get older, because Saturn is retrograde, you see? But being a child wouldn't have been fun. It wouldn't have been fun. Now, there's definite indications of spirituality and stuff like that here. And you see the part of fortune and the South Node are in the 9th house. So as a child, either religion was important to you or your parents were religious, You're a Saturn girlfriend. thank you. Oh, fan. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it, sweetheart. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So anyway, you may, and also your success. And it may be more subjective success. It could be more, internal or consciousness success, self-development, right? That's sort of religious success, isn't it? And ultimately, religion and spirituality are about self-development, right? They're about self-development. That's quite important. And as you get older, life is about the dissemination of those things. Now, it's quite interesting because the eclipses are oscillating back and forth between your third and ninth house, right? You just had an eclipse in the third house. And you may have found yourself becoming more vocal. You could have found yourself, creating more, publishing more work, things like that. Ashish says hello. Hi. Hello. Anyway, the 10th house ruler is Mars in Capricorn, right? So that's a very happy Mars, which usually indicates some sort of success in a way, but it's in the 12th house. I mean, you may have something to do with therapy also. You may work in an institutional setting, hospitals or prisons, You may work behind the scenes. Sometimes you work with other people's pain, like social workers. Sometimes you work in the legal profession, right? We see lawyers, criminal lawyers. Thank you, my love. It's very late in India. You poor darling. It's very late in India. Anyway, then the moon in the 8th house. There's difficulty with mom, It could be trauma from the mother. Maybe mom was it could be two extremes. Mom was meek and mild and submissive and either got abused or taken advantage of, or she was the one on the other end, There's fear. There's fear with the moon in the 8th house, fear. Struggle with self-expression. Yes, exactly. Exactly. You see? And Venus rules the 4th house and is in the 5th. So I wonder if dad cheated on mom? Like, was dad like a promiscuous type or have like an extramarital affair? Or have an extramarital affair? Swapnil, I'm so glad you're here. I don't think I said your name correctly. I'm sorry. Dab. Dab. Anyway. So, but see, the eclipse on October 2nd is going to be in your 9th house, just like it is for me. You see, our whole belief system is changing. These are big beginnings and endings in our spiritual and philosophical path. So you see, for me, I can already see the writing on the wall, what it is. I was involved in spiritual groups for 20 years or more, And I've been departing a lot from my old beliefs. In fact, I don't believe in anything anymore. I prefer to find things out and discover things. But so I wonder about, if dad cheated on mom or something like that, or had other children or some shit. And children would be important to you too. Children would be important to you too, you see. And I bet you're quite sexual. I bet you're quite sexual. Nuka-Cola. I bet you're quite sexual. And you might be polyamorous, or you might be bisexual, or you might be gay. I don't know. Or you may have had gender issues. And I say that because Venus opposite Uranus. Sometimes you like unconventional relationships or have unconventional sexuality. Kinky people. Kinky people. That's a frequent thing. Dad didn't cheat, but used me as an emotional outlet and a surrogate partner. And mom hated you for it. Yeah. I'm sorry, sweetheart. But yeah, that makes total sense. That makes total sense. I'm sorry. That makes total sense. That's a rough one. But Hopefully you have some good luck with money. With Jupiter very happy in the second house. Jupiter rules Pisces and is in your second house. But you have Saturn going through your second house. So if you weren't keeping track of your money or your expenses, organizing your books and your income, then you're going to need to do it now. And it's happening to me too, because I run a small business. And it's like Saturn tells us, yo, you've got to start like diligently tracking all of your expenses and all of your income. You need to take responsibility and ownership over your resources, learn to manage them, you know, with the sense of economy, right? A sense of awareness that they are finite, and learning to use them most efficiently, right? And so we're learning that efficiency, aren't we? And Virgo moon, like you. I mean, I'm dating a Virgo moon. And they can be subby. They can be beautifully subby. But you don't want to allow yourself to be taken advantage of. You know, it's fun to be submissive, of course. But you don't want to let yourself get taken advantage of. And see, you're good at communicating emotions. You know? You're good at communicating emotions. Yes, Saturn is on my ass about finances. Yeah, I know. I can see it. I can see it. But Jupiter's going through your fifth house. So if you have children, you could see improvement in your relationship with them. If you don't have children, you know, you could get pregnant. Jupiter was going through my fifth house when my daughter was born. You see? So, quite interesting stuff. And Venus is going through your seventh house right now. So this could be a time to meet new partners. You know, if you're not already with someone, you want to get on dating apps and put yourself out there. Don't be desperate. But if you match with people, then, you know, go out and have fun. Like, go meet people. Like, you know, try some new things. Try some things you never tried before. I mean, I bet you're a little adventurous, aren't you? I bet you're a little adventurous. But see, Mars is going to go through your fifth house too. So if you do have children, for the next few months, you're going to have a bad relationship with them. They might fight you and all that sort of thing. They might... What the fuck is this? I can't answer that right now. See, I should have gotten off the internet already. It's almost been 3 fucking hours. I hope you're all happy. I hope you're all grateful I went 3 fucking hours. Because this shit's wild. You know. At least I'm good at talking. Arnold Robbins says, could you see improvement with your inner child? I don't know what you're getting at. See improvement with... I mean, I guess. In terms of enjoying yourself and having fun. That's the other thing this is about, is learning to have fun again and enjoy yourself. You know? But your relationship with your children will be kind of a pain in the ass for the next couple months. You know, the rest of this month and most of next month. You see? I know I need to get some food. I'm getting upset. I'm getting hangry. I'm getting hangry. Anyway. So that's all good stuff, though. Because Jupiter will be going through there for a while. Anyway. Wonderful stuff. So, if I didn't get to you today, please come back tomorrow. It'll be around the same time, just a few minutes late. I'll probably be like 15 minutes late because I'll be getting off a reading. So, anyway, I love you all very much. I love you all very much, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Please, please, please like the stream, subscribe to my channel. Donations and tips are always prioritized, as are members. Just a word to the wise for next time. And tell your friends. Share my shit. Watch my other videos. My videos are fucking great, yo. I have to do a Mars and Gemini video. So I'm going to work on the script for that tonight. But I have to also deal with accountants and all that shit in a second. It'll be 2:30 Eastern time, which is 12:30 Mountain time. So 2:30 Eastern time rather than 2 p.m. I'll be half an hour late. So 2:30. Okay. 2:30. You have pinged me on Facebook. Thank you. Yeah, follow me on Facebook, please, sweetheart. Anyway, I love you all. I have to go eat. You emailed me also. I saw that. So, if you're interested, I'll email you back. But if you're interested, I couldn't tell if you were interested in a full reading or not. I couldn't tell if you were interested in a full reading or not. And here's the card to let us all go. The Eight of Cups, which is about letting things go. It's about letting things go, right? Which frees us up to experience new things, doesn't it? So anyway, love you all very much. Have a wonderful rest of your whatever you're having. Oh my gosh, I look good in this dress. I haven't been looking, you know. I haven't been looking, but yeah, I do look good in this dress. Say yes to the dress.